There is only one perfect solution, and there are clues that will try to trick our team.
Hello there, everyone. I'm Crazy Caleb, and today we are taking a look at raiding temples. So what we need to do is we need to figure out how many explorers we have, in this case being 4 based off of the fedora hats, and what our common pool is. So first off, let's note that down. We have 4 explorers, and we have a common pool, I'm going to mark it as CP from now on, of 8. So first off, what we need to do is we need to identify what the names of our explorers are in this case, based off of our indicators. In this case, we have, and the lit and unlit status do not matter. We have a Mike Sierra Alpha. We have an IND. We have a November Sierra Alpha. So based off of these indicators down here, we're going to correspond them to each of the indicators that match each explorer. So we had an IND, an NSA, and an MSA. However, we only have 3 indicators, so what do we do with this? So, if there are insufficient matching indicators, take unused rows from the table top to bottom. So in this case, our 4th explorer will be Francis. So now we're going to order them by the indicators alphabetically. The indicators is the one we're going to be ordering alphabetically. So, taking a look here, and we're going to use the present ones first. So the ones that we had first are going to be ordered. Then Francis will be a guaranteed 4. He is going to be right there. So we have Indiana. Mike comes before November, so Michael. And we have a Nate. And then finally Francis. And those are going to be our 4 explorers that we're going to be worrying about. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to actually have to look at these explorers' leave conditions, because they each have different leave conditions here. So Indiana will leave after snakes appear. Francis will leave when he is the only explorer left and he is guaranteed to have the most treasure. Francis is going to be one of those that you'll very rarely see get out of the temple alive, because he is basically going to be your guaranteed last explorer. So Nate will leave when his current treasure added to the common pool is at least 10. Common pool, he has to have at least 2 in this case to leave right now. And Michael will leave 1 round after any explorer leaves. So what do we have to do? So how do we determine what our rounds are going to be? We're going to simply look at the characters of the serial number here. In this case, Echo 35, Echo Alpha 8. There are going to be 4 different types of hazards: spiders, rocks, snakes, and quicksand. As it says here in the little flavor text, snakes, spiders, rocks, and quicksand. Why did it have to be snakes, spiders, rock, and quicksand? So corresponding each character to the serial number, it will tell you what the treasure you get from that round will be, and what the hazard also is. So in this case, our first round will have a treasure of 1, but its hazard is the spiders. 3 will have treasure of 12, nice, and a hazard of rocks. 5 will have a hazard of rocks, but a treasure of 17. Now, I'm going to stop there, simply because taking a look at this rule. However, if 2 copies of the same hazard appear, all explorers left in the temple at the end of that round, meaning they go on to the next round, i.e. they do not leave during that round or earlier, die and should not be selected. If this happens, you click on the skull present here. This little skull. Let's not click on that yet, because there may be explorers to leave. So we're going to go through each round, and since I stopped at the 2 rocks because there are 2 duplicates, the rest of the serial number characters don't matter. And it's also important to note, since we do have 4 different types of hazards, there will never be a 6th round. The maximum number of rounds you can have before any of the explorers die should be 5, because there's only 4 different types of hazards. So what we're going to do is go through each round, and essentially we're going to divide each value by the amount of explorers we have. Like, for example, we'll go through the first round, 1 divided by 4, but that's a remainder since we can't divide it into 0.5s or anything. So essentially, if there's any remainder, that's going to go into the common pool. So taking a look here, and we're also going to have to pay attention to their leave conditions and make sure to check when they leave. There's a whole lot in this space here. Hold on. Okay, so we go for our first round. Spiders. There's no duplicates, so they can stay that round. That round is done. And since there was a treasure of 1, 1 divided by 4 in this case is going to have a remainder of 1. So that we're going to add that 1 to the common pool. And no one has any treasure at the moment. So next up, we're going to take a look at rocks. 12 divided by 4 gives each explorer 3. That's what we're looking at right now. Let's check any of our leave conditions for the first and the second round. Have snakes appear? No. Is he the only explorer left, and is guaranteed to have the most treasure? No, everyone is still left. Nate, when his current treasure added to the common pool is at least 10. Let's check that. 3 plus 9 equals 12. If he was to leave right now, would be at least 10, so he can leave at this round actually. He wouldn't leave before because he had 0, so 9 and 0 is below 10. So he's actually going to leave the second round, and he will not be considered for the further rounds. And finally, Michael, 1 round after any explorer leaves. So Michael is guaranteed to leave at the next round. So let's go through the next round. So we're going to take 17 divided by 3 in this case, because Nate has already left the temple and he does not continue on any further. So let's pull out my handy dandy calculator because I can't do math in my head. 17 divided by 3 in this case. Each explorer is going to get 5. But there's going to be a remainder of 2. So each explorer gets 5. We have an 8. We have an 8. We have an 8. However, let's not forget that Nate left this round. So what happens if Nate does leave? After each round, some of the explorers may leave the temple. If they do, they take the treasure from the common pool and add it to the stuff that they've already collected. So, essentially, Nate left the last round and there was a common pool of 9, so he's actually going to get 12 treasure, and the common pool is back to 0. If there were multiple explorers at the same time, that left at the same time, they would split the common pool between them and leave any remainder behind. However, this does not happen because Nate only leaves. So now we've added 3 to each of them, but there was a remainder of. It was 3. It was we gave them 5, but there was a remainder of 2, and that's now our new common pool. Now, before we continue on to the next round, do any people leave this round? After snakes appear, nope, Indiana's staying. Francis, when he's the only explorer left, no, he's not the only explorer left. Indiana and Indiana still exist. Nate's already left, so we can actually mark him off. And 1 round after any other explorer leaves. It has been 1 round after someone else has left. So he will be leaving this round. Excuse me, Michael will be leaving this round. And he's going to get the common pool. And his value becomes 10. So these 2 are going to continue on to the next round. But they will be dying instead. So we're going to mark them with a V because they have died, and we will press the skull for them. So now we need to figure out what to press. The skull will always be pressed last because that's going to be for the remaining explorers who haven't been pressed. So to diffuse the module, click on the explorers in the order of most to least treasure. Clicking an explorer out of order will result in a strike, but not reset any previous clicks. If multiple explorers have the same amount of treasure, click them in the order of who left the temple, then in alphabetical order of their name. So when it means who left the temple, let's say if they both have the same value, It refers to who left the temple most recently. So in this case, Michael would be the most recent one, so we would press him first, and then Nate. But it isn't in this case. So we're going to press from most to least treasure, in this case, a 3 and a 2. And then we're going to press the skull since the rest of them die. And just like that is a solved module. Let's take a look at one more example, because this is a little bit of a tricky module to understand. And it is important to note that there can be 3 to 5 explorers present on this module. It's just dependent on how many hats are present. So our common pool is 4, and we have 4 explorers. And nice, we actually do have 4 indicators, so that's perfect. So our indicators are going to be a SIG, TRN, IND, and an SND. And so like we did last time, we're going to order them in alphabetical order of the indicators, not the names. So our first one is going to easily be Indiana. Next up, SI comes before SND, so next up is going to be Shelly. Next up is going to be Sandy, because S comes before T, and Sandy. And then our last one's going to be Trinity. And those are our 4 explorers we're working with here. So now, we've seen Indiana before, he will leave after snakes appear. Sandy will leave after quicksand appears, but no sooner than the 3rd round. If quicksand happens to appear on the 1st round, she won't leave until the 3rd round. Shelly will leave if any other explorer also leaves. That's pretty simple enough. And Trini will leave when there's at least 5 treasure in the common pool. So let's take a look at our rounds that we're going to determine. In this case, we have a 177 Echo Echo 3. However, we can already tell that we have duplicate characters in our serial number, so these are the only characters we're going to pay attention to. So a 1 is snakes, and a 7 is quicksand. So our first round is a 1. It's going to have a treasure of 1. It has a hazard of snakes. And the next 2 7s will have a 13 and a 13, but they have a hazard of quicksand. This is going to be a rather interesting one. Sand. So let's go through each of the rounds. So our first round is snakes. There are 4 explorers, and there's a treasure of 1. That is obviously not divisible by that. So our common pool is going to go up to a 5. No one gets any treasure. Let's check our leave condition. After snakes appear, yes, Indiana will leave. But let's take a look at some other rules too, because this might apply. After quicksand appears, but no sooner than the 3rd round, quicksand has not appeared yet. Shelly, if any other explorer also leaves. That much is true. Shelly will be also leaving. Trini, when there is at least 5 treasure in the common pool. There is indeed at least 5 treasure in the common pool, so that is going to be true as well. So now, we have 3 explorers leaving on the 1st round. So this is where this situation comes in. Taking a look up here, some explorers may leave. If they do, they take the treasure from the common pool, add it to them already collected. If multiple explorers leave at the same time, they split the common pool between them. So in this case, we're going to divide 5 divided by 3. In this case, they're each going to get 1 treasure. But that is how they will be leaving. And they will leave any remainder behind. So in this case, they left each remainder of 2, so that's going to be in our common pool now. So now, Indiana, Shelly, and Trini have left because of their leave conditions applying. Now let's take a look at Sandy, because Sandy is a bit of an interesting one. So, Sandy is going to leave after quicksand appears. let's move on to the next round. Quicksand does appear, so she's going to get 13 treasure because 13 divided by 1 is 13. So Quicksand has appeared, but it isn't the first round. It isn't the third round, excuse me. So she is not going to be leaving yet. So we're going to go on to the next round, which also has a treasure of 13. She's going to get a 26. Now the question is she going to continue on to the next round? Because if she continues after the duplicate, not during it, that's when she'll die. So after Quicksand appears, but no sooner than the third round. Is it the third round? Yes, it is. So she will be leaving this round as well, taking the common pool with her, creating a 28 treasure, but obviously she has the most treasure, so she's going to be pressed first. So we're going to press it from most to least treasure, and if the multiple explorers have the same amount of treasure, click them in order who left the temple. They all left in the first round, so then in alphabetical order of their name, not their indicator. So we're going to press Sandy, who has the most treasure, and now we're going to press them all in the alphabetical order of their name. I comes before S and T, so it's going to be Indiana, Shelly, and then Trini. And just like that is a solved module. Thank you guys for watching. As always, stay crazy, stay cool, and if you have any questions about this module, please don't be afraid to ask. See you guys later. Bye-bye.